Everybody, people who are here and people who are on video, thank you so much for taking time away from your busy schedules to participate in this meeting. Uh, there's going to be a little amendment to the agenda, and one of the changes will be the approval of the agenda. This is going to be amended, and what we will be doing is moving item number 9 on the agenda. I hope everybody got a copy, and we're going to move that behind number 6. So 9 behind number 6. And everything else should go as outlined. Got it? Got it, sir. All right.
Do we need a motion for that, or is that?
Yeah, you need to approve you did a vote to approve the agenda.
All right.
A motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll move it.
It's been moved. Second. Second. All right. All in favor of the agenda being amended as outlined, as described? Please show your hands. Okay. All who oppose? None? None. Chris? Approve?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and approved and voted that this amendment be changed as I described earlier. Okay. Everybody hopefully had a chance to read the agenda, the minutes, the minutes. And if there is no changes or alteration to the minutes, I have a motion to approve the said.
So moved.
It's been moved. Second. Need a second? And second by Art. Okay, it's been moved and second, and all in favor of the approval of the minutes? Opposed? All right, thank you. Okay. The next item is citizen comment. Do we have any? First of all, I guess everybody knows everybody here. Maybe we have guests here, we should let them introduce themselves.
Starting with me?
Yes, you.
My name is Tom Kennedy. I'm with the county legal office, and I'm here to talk to you guys a little bit about
We got a lawyer now.
your county council district 3.
Okay, Assistant Administrator for Development and Recreation. Hi, everybody. Joe Mack, Future Relations. Crystal Park, Public Information Officer for Beaufort County.
Okay, board members are good, so moving forward.
Oh, wait,
Anybody online?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sean Cullen from Hilton Head, Sean.
Sean, introduce yourself, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sean, would you introduce yourself?
I'm Sean Colin. I'm Senior Advisor to the Town Manager for the Town of Hilton Island.
Thank you, sir. All right. The next group of on the agenda discussion items, we're going to number 6, Marking and Rural Critical Land Preservation Program. Mr. Chris. That's you.
If you need one, Crystal Park, I'm the Public Information Officer, Marketing, standing off to the side so people don't stare at my back, / HR with recruiting, and Tom keeps me out of trouble on a regular basis. So if anybody needs a card, you can reach out to me at any time. Got here in June, so we're crossing the 8-month mark. And as I've learned the county, 3 things popped out at me that I did not understand for the first 6 months until I really started digging into things. Open land trust, rural and critical lands, and passive parks. Okay, I thought they were all the same thing. I didn't know what that meant. Rob set me straight, and slammed the door to my office, and got really angry. I'm just kidding. I've come to learn what each aspect of those things do, and kind of, I think, starting to incorporate them a lot better for citizens to learn what each one of those are. I normally gauge off my wife and neighbors because they're the perfect examples, and because my wife doesn't pay attention. The only thing she knew about when we moved here was the Husky Ferry. literally. She's like, I've heard about this ferry thing. Everything else I know about. So I kind of gauge it off of that. And my neighbors, and we're in the south of the county, so a little different perspective. And most of them have moved from the north, where everything's already preserved pretty much except for some houses, because they have these humongous state parks and all that other stuff. So trying to get them to understand has been kind of where I gauge my messaging off of. But the average person thinks that all three are kind of the same or don't understand or just kind of move on with life. Now, passive parks was the most common, oh yeah, I know what that is, because that's what people use, that's what people go to, and that's what people can walk through and do those types of things. So that one, I think I kind of stepped off to the side and said, okay, that's pretty much taken care of itself. Then when it came to this board, what you'll see, and I saw that your Facebook page did share some of the posts and island packet coverage and everything else, and I have emphasized two things since I've arrived. One is cost and who's providing that cost. So that is what the media always wants up front. So you'll see that within either the first or second paragraph of every one of our releases, the Beaufort County Council, through the Rural and Critical Land Preservation Program, provided funding for, and then we went into the project. Okay, so that's kind of how I'm marketing it. And at the end of this, I welcome your feedback because people view that as, oh, that's where the money's coming from. They don't understand how the money gets there, but they understand that's where the money's coming from to make it possible to not have a development go up in Mr. Glover's backyard, not to how they got the passive park and be able to use that passive park. So that's kind of the vehicle that I'm using to catch the public's attention to help them understand. So different ways that we've been doing that is we've shared all this on Nextdoor, which is a very popular web social media site for information like this. Facebook, so much. I will tell you one thing we'll do better, because I actually just found it today, and that is my fault, is I didn't know you had your own Facebook page that had a lot of great information on it. So we'll start tagging and doing all those social media things. We hired a social media specialist. She comes from Appalachia State, Western North Carolina, so she knows about these issues. She is solely focused on social media and informing and getting our platforms and growing our following on that, which will be a good thing, because the more people we get following, the more they share, the more people understand about the programs. And then when they see it in the newspaper, they see it in another thing on TV, they then understand what it is. The biggest issue with TVs is great visuals, and you have great visuals because everybody loves natural pictures of trees and the ocean and everything else, but they only normally get 30 seconds on the nightly news, so they never really get into the details. But when they see that and they hear Beaufort County purchase, they'll start putting the things together. Obviously, this is a long-term strategy. It won't happen overnight. The other thing that we're starting, we actually started it today, is what we call a Flickr page. It's essentially just albums of pictures. What I've found in past job experiences is people love to go find pictures and use them. So if I can provide them the pictures with the tag underneath it, they're much media, charities, anybody that wants to talk about it, they'll start using them. And you have some of the best pictures. So the most popular social media site in the United States is NASA. Why? They have amazing pictures of planets and gases and explosions and everything else, right? So natural pictures of Beaufort County have come to learn very fast. People absolutely love them. They love to pull them. They want to use them for their presentations. And then if we have a tag in there that says, you know, this land is protected by rural critical lands, it starts that process, right? Got voted vice president of my alumni chapter for my fraternity, and they were like, we need a natural picture of Hilton Head. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. So it's just natural. People start using it, they'll start searching and start finding that stuff. Another thing we can do, and I think this will be another great one too, is we get a 30-second ad on what's called gas station TV. So I don't know if any of you have been at the independent gas stations, not Parker's or Enmark, but those Shell and other ones, and pull up to the pump and they kind of play a TV commercial. Well, we've actually bought for a very cheap price ad space on there. And we started with hurricane preparedness, and now we've grown into Library Month, Black History Month, and this can be another thing, because again, we're looking for those things with visuals. So I can send my team out and get some drone shots of different properties that we're allowed to be on, some of the and then we can put in there, brought to you by rural and critical lands. it really didn't hit home to me until, I was in New York at the pump. Didn't understand any of it, but, you know, all I could, it was like ETV was on, so it was like all the Kardashians and this, and I don't pay attention to any of that. And then my daughter was like, oh, did you hear what happened? And I'm like, why do I know that happened? Oh, I was standing at the gas pump, pumping my gas for, 2 minutes, and I had to listen to the dang. So it's the same kind of concept out here. People have actually started coming up to, detention officers that were in a commercial, hurricane preparedness, other things like that. And then like, hey, I saw you at the gas pump, type thing. So it's been very successful. It's much more, cost effective than TV commercials, because normally for a lot more, they'll put you on at midnight and say, see, you were on TV and look at them. To get the actual like 6 o'clock news slot is for Coca-Cola and Pepsi and that type of stuff. So there's another good thing that we're doing. And then the final thing is we have opportunities, on HHI TV along with the county channel. So the county channel, broadcasting this, we've started to kind of zone in the shows to hit topics during the year, between Coastline. I know we're trying to work on getting a council member chat going. We're able to kind of focus on that. The other thing is I've talked to Rob from, he does Coastal Kingdom. So if they're ever on or around property that has to do with this, I'm going to make sure he makes sure that's part of the dialogue that goes in there, because that's another great show that's actually picked up and watched in a lot of different places. We also bought ad time on HHI TV, actually a partnership, that's probably a better way to put it, to where we get every 4 months a 30-minute block that we can then talk about the different programs in and around Hilton Head. We get to run it on County Channel TV. They run it on their programs, and then we can also share it on TV, and they break it up into 10-minute blocks, so it's more manageable. So the last iteration we did was the library, and then we did engineering, did 2 different spots because Jared has too much going on when it comes to engineering stuff. And before that, I think we did Parks and Rec and some other things like that. So those are all the types of things that we're trying to get out into the market. This is, as you all have lived and learned, Beaufort County is really fragmented when it comes to what populations know about and what they care about and how they get their information. And I don't say that in a negative way. It's just the way that the county is set up. So, Mr. Glover had to teach me that shaking hands was much more effective north of the river than putting anything on social media or doing those types of things. Where I live in Bluffton, if you don't put it on Nextdoor or Facebook, nobody knows what the heck you're talking about. And then Hilton Head is kind of a mix of everything, to be honest with you. That watch HHI TV, definitely cable people, but then they also dabble, most likely because their kids and grandkids are on Facebook, so they catch that type of thing from there. So that's been the biggest challenge, is messaging in different parts of the county, but I really think we're moving in the right direction when it comes to this. And I think we'll continue to see people recognizing your work more and more as we move forward, now that we got these different things in place and that we're thinking about it. So with that, I will take any questions or any feedback.
How much is your budget, Chris? What kind of a budget do you have to do all this?
So we can yell at Pinky next door. So historically, I've had 0. I'm actually putting in the first budget for PIO. And of course, they're going to approve it because they really like me back there.
Sounds like you're doing a lot.
Yeah. So yes, luckily, since I fall underneath IT, Patrick has a very nice budget because he needs to update his computers, all that type of stuff. And we kind of work hand in hand with broadcasting. So we've been able to this year squeeze out some money, but next year I plan on actually submitting a budget, which I'm doing right now. And we're hoping to get almost about $40,000 for marketing / informational stuff in addition to what we already do. So this was for those gas station TV buys, ad buying, different things along those lines.
Okay, thank you.
Yep,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, Chris, welcome to the low country, and thank you for educating me about those gas station pumps. I never knew what that was. I never paid any attention to that. Yeah.
Now you will, and soon you'll see open land.
See your picture there.
Yeah. So, and then we've been working a lot with and I've been told by multiple people. So, like, I think that you were talking about the co-op opening. That got some really good media coverage. and the people. So our market, everyone here likes to say that we're associated with Charleston, because naturally I think you are. It's in the same state. However, the media market is Savannah, and that's where the Savannah TV stations come from. We have our own 4 papers, if you want to call them that. Just kidding. That actually do and now have done a much better job at covering the county government as well. And then I can get the Charleston TV stations to come down for something big. But all the ones in Savannah have talked about, what do you got going on in St. Helena? What do you got going on in Ladies Island? That's what they specifically want to know about when they come up here, because they have to sell it to their editors or their producers for them. They can normally sneak in across the border right into Bluffton and then sneak back out pretty easily. But their producers want it. They're like, listen, this gets some of the highest ratings. There's things that are happening on good things, not bad things happening in the northern part of Beaufort County. Now, Charleston, if you go to a Charleston TV station and go on the website about Beaufort County, I thought I moved into the Bronx of the 80s. Okay, like they don't cover anything other than somebody getting murdered or somebody's house getting burnt down. But when it comes to the southern stations, they're much better at that in Savannah, and they really do, especially WTOC and WSAV. Those are the 2 really big ones, and they have the biggest budgets as well. So they've been doing a good job. I think WTOC came up to the co-op opening. I know they're covering the tax thing today at the library. So Tyler Mannion's the reporter there. He's been pretty good.
And so I'll say, hats off to Chris, and thank you for being here and continuing to think about how we can all work together to market the Rural and Critical program. I think in the short time we've both been in these roles, we've been able to collaborate on the 3 press releases for the 3 projects from 2021, which has been great. I'll take a draft at them. Chris will make them good for the media, tell me all the important things to put in that top paragraph to capture everybody's short attention span. And then really help get that out to the audiences in the media. And so having these other tools, like the social pages, the Flickr, the gas station TV, the Hilton Head County channel, I think these are great opportunities for us to continue thinking about how we get our message out, not just say a press release when we protect a property, which is typically toward the end of every year, right? But the work that we do throughout the year. And so if we talk later in this meeting about tours of properties, let's talk about ways we can describe what we see. Art did a video last year or 2 years ago, why I serve, right? Let's talk about ways we can continue to do that, highlighting the work of Rural and Critical board members, like with the co-op. I think these are all really good things that we'll continue to build upon. And I think the media coverage from the 3 property closings has been good. And I think we have also opportunity to expand where that information is placed, but also once the property is protected, like the You Pick Daffodil article that was in the Island Packet 2 weeks ago, I posted on the Facebook page because it's a protected property, and that's really cool that you can go out and pick daffodils on a property that's protected forever with your tax dollars. So I'm terrible with Rural and Critical Facebook page, but I've resolved to be better, and that was one of the articles that I wanted to share expressly for that purpose, because I think it's important that the Island Packet and other media outlets know when they report on something cool, they need to know if it's happening on a protected property.
And so we have two things I can add to that. So as a social media specialist, what I've done is, and we used this in the Army, was a program called Sprinkler, which most people have no clue what it means, but essentially what it is it allows you to schedule all of your platforms out of one server. And then the other thing it does, and this is not illegal, I promise, is it's called social listening. So essentially what it does is if you have an open account, if they say Rural and Critical Lands or St. Helena Co-op or whatever it is, it'll pop up in the feed, even though you're not friends with them, even though you may not even know who they are. And that way you can read it and just kind of get a sense of what people are saying in the open public. Because like what I like to say is, if you don't have your protections correct on Facebook, you're essentially going to the mall and screaming at the top of your lungs, all of your political friend views, you're holding up your family pictures. If you have it set to private, you're not doing that. But that's essentially what it is. So if you are open, then that we can start hearing all those different things. And then we can see what people are saying. Is it even mentioned? Like over the last month, no one once has mentioned in social media other than ourselves, so how do we break that? Or here's some people that have been really active about supporting it, but they have no idea where to go. So we can point them to the right places. Or there's this group out there that thinks it's the worst thing possible. Oh, it's a developer from, New York that wants to come and buy land and he's trying to start up trouble, wherever type thing. And then we can address that as well. So, we can help with the posting on social media, but also give you kind of a public comment feedback, as people just naturally post out loud. And that helps in a whole number of different ways across the county.
Chris, are you doing it with Google for keywords and
So yes, we're trying.
Okay.
Google is not the most user-friendly for people they don't care about, which is any local government. I got boat ramps right now that are in people's backyards, so if you type them into your Google, you would go to somebody's house. So we're trying to work on that, and we're trying to, I like to say, pierce the corporate veil, and then get in there, and actually start getting this stuff moved around. I would love to label properties, close to the public butt type thing. When people search certain property names, that they would just pop up, and because I know that's one of the biggest fears of some property owners that do, easement protections and everything is like, oh, people think they're gonna be able to come on my land now, type thing. So, yes, the short answer is yes,
Okay.
but it is a long,
process?
and, Google is not user friendly, or Alphabet, whatever you want to call them. They are their sponsors, and, other people.
Thank you, Chris.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Sorry, we
Thank
gotta
you.
work.
Appreciate it. Yep.
Thank you so much.
My cards are right here. If anybody has any other questions, feel free to email me, call me, anytime. So,
Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're gonna go into executive session now, and so I'm gonna have to, ask, I'm sorry, you to leave.
Oh, we need to.
And, if you wanna sit outside or wait, or.
I gotta go back to work. I'm
Okay, all right.
I gotta fight.
Okay.
We need to have a motion, a
And,
second. and a
yeah,
vote.
and Sean, I'm gonna be working on the.
Oh,
breakout
before we
session.
do that, we had one person to come in, did one person come in late? No?
I did.
Ford.
Oh, okay.
I don't think Rob can do this, so do you?
Oh,
Yeah,
We've seen him before.
I snuck in when Chris
Yeah.
was talking, Rob Merchant, planning zoning director.
okay. All right, my understanding, we're gonna move into executive session, and
I'll move it.
been moved, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor of going to executive session, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Opposed, none? So we in executive session.
Oh, wait, hang on.
Hold on. Okay. we've heard a lot of information regarding, the executive session versus non-executive session. Before we move on, is this a good time to make a decision how we want to do it? How this board want to do it? For example, I would say that, Pete made a good comment about the property overview and that sort of stuff. And if that's what we're gonna talk about, I don't think we need to go in executive session. But if we're gonna talk about contract and negotiation, I think we would need to go in executive session. So that's my spin on it.
I agree. I think the way we're doing it now, we've moved from putting coded numbers down to a general designation of a property or area of a property. And when we get into the detail of the negotiation, we go into executive.
Tony, is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
Up to you. Make a motion, get a second, and take a vote.
Well, you heard, my overview and Art's overview. Anybody else? Could I have a motion to, let the property overview with big changes be, discussed in a public session? But any, item, any part of the, that's dealing with, finance or negotiation, we need to go in executive session. Is that, motion somebody can make?
That,
Are we gonna just, I need a clarification, please. The example Eric brought up was the discussion we're gonna have today between two government entities. Are we specifically talking about that this motion would apply to private parties, or are we going to go into executive session today to talk about the proposed application coming from the county and town of Hilton Head, given the fact that they're government entities and that's public funds?
Mr. Chairman, let me say, if you want to discuss how this board wants to handle properties and discussion of properties that come before this board in the future going forward, that is an agenda item that you should put on your, that's not on this agenda.
Okay, all right.
I would suggest that you just wait till the next
Okay.
time,
All
add
right.
it as an item, and then discuss it.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda.
We can put it on the next agenda. Would it also be helpful if I prepared like a disclosure statement for y'all to review that could go on the application?
Yeah. You mean what Zeke was talking
Yes.
about? Okay, all right.
Would that a directive?
Okay.
Okay.
And that would be a great idea for you guys to discuss at your next meeting, how you want to handle these things.
Okay. That's good, 'cause I don't think everybody has thought about it yet, so we'll give them a chance to think about it.
Great.
Yeah. So in saying that,
I'll work with you on what that should say.
if all minds are cleared on that, we can take the next item on the agenda, which has been approved.
You're back on schedule.
Yeah,
Great.
back on schedule. You're back on schedule, that means that our next item is number 7.
Yes. So those of y'all online, have this monthly notes PDF in your email, but the folks in the room can have a hard copy in front of them. I'm trying to be more organized about my monthly updates to you all. So feedback is welcome on what type of information is important. Just first want to start with a little snapshot of this quarter. You asked last month how many applications we got at the end of quarter 4. So we did get 4 applications by December 31st of 2021. We reviewed those as a planning team, and that's what you'll see through the first couple months of 2022. However, since January 2022, we are in our newest application phase that ends March 30th. We've already received 1, and we've received 2 inquiries. So just to give you an idea, those are people that are just kind of cold calling with inquiries, or maybe there's a landowner or the neighboring landowner, et cetera. We're also doing proactive outreach, and we meet as a planning staff, both myself coming from the Open Land Trust and the county folks, to talk about, what kind of proactive conversations we need to have. So that's just a little snapshot of where we are since we opened this application period. And as a reminder, since you all are ambassadors for the program, the next application deadline is March 31st. That application can be found online on ruralandcritical.org and on the county website. We've also had some great press since the beginning of the year. The press for the Bermuda Bluff and the Oak Point closings works with Chris. He set up even a WTOC interview for the Oak Point closing. It was a fun day. My daughter was home from school because that's just how things are in January, and she got to come with me, and she thought every day was fun because it was all, we drove out to the Wimpy boat landing, and she saw dolphins breaching and got to meet a reporter, and it was great. So helped with that.
Work for a living.
I know, she thinks I have a little too much fun. So back at school she goes. We've also had some press on passive parks and other press on protected land. So I included the fact that the U-Pick Daffodil Farm is on a protected property, and also have included some miscellaneous press that is related, including the great Post and Courier story on the Gullah Farmers Co-op. So congratulations to those stakeholders. Looking ahead for February, wanted to talk about some community events that are taking place. I put some partner events and links on your paper, and if you read the electronic copy, this will take you to the website. But want to talk briefly about some events specifically for this board. February 14th is now been rescheduled to February 28th, and it is the next county council meeting where county council will discuss the passive park rezoning, which is now item 9 on our agenda, so I'll get there next. But February 28th is that date, and it will actually be on Hilton Head. So if y'all saw the media outreach this morning or yesterday, county council meetings are now moving around the county again, and the next meeting of county council will be February 28th on Hilton Head. That's just a date to keep in mind. Another date to keep in mind for this board is our long-awaited property tours. I'd like for y'all to hold the morning of February 24th for a property tour in Bluffton. We have a great set of landowners lined up to talk about the Rural and Critical program on their property specifically, and I'm working on quorum and logistics and public notice questions to make sure that if a quorum of you show up, it is properly noticed as a public meeting and that we are following all the rules. I've reached out to our clerk of county council to find out about all of that. But even though we don't have all of that buttoned up yet, I would love for y'all to hold the date because the landowners are super excited to talk about why the rural and critical property matters to them. Looking ahead, I think if we were able to meet on site and experience a property on a regular basis, this is also a good example of information we can use for media and marketing. So it would be great, you know, to have interview one of y'all, take pictures, write a blog post, put something on our website after the fact, do that type of thing. So citizens of Beaufort County can learn how impactful this program has been, and you all can come to see properties.
It'll be at the same time? It'll be at the same time?
I would like to keep the property tours on a regular schedule to help y'all manage your lives too. So right now, my thinking is, and open to your feedback, that if we meet the second Thursday of the month for a real meeting, if we have a property tour, the ideal time would be the fourth Thursday of the month. Not to say that every month we'll do that, but just some normal cadence so that if you're able if Thursdays, you know, are happy days for y'all already, then maybe we can get used to that. As far as the time, this particular landowner has requested the morning, and it would be in Bluffton.
You know where?
Yeah. What?
Three Sisters?
At Three Sisters in the U-Pick Daffodil. Yeah.
That sounds great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm excited. So final details on how to properly publicly notice a field trip, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
Just a meeting.
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
The location has changed.
It's just a meeting. It's going to be no fun. It's going to be great. So, that's what I have on, monthly notes and updates. Are there any questions?
No, ma'am, thank you.
All right, I'll jump right into the next agenda item if that's okay, Mr.
Sure.
Chairman. Last month, we talked about what was happening with, some proposed rezonings at the county level. As y'all may remember, the Rural and Critical Program obviously protects land in two ways. One is via conservation easement, and one is by purchasing the property. And the properties that are purchased by Beaufort County come into the program with their previous zoning. So maybe that zoning was T3N, and the property could have been developed as a neighborhood, but it was protected as a park. Stephanie Najid and the Passive Parks program has proposed a list of passive parks to be rezoned from their incoming zoning category to T1N Natural Preserve, which fits now the intention for that property. It would allow Stephanie to plan for passive parks and to provide for public access and all the things that a passive park requires, but it won't allow for T3N type zoning, houses, subdivisions, that type of thing. And so, y'all asked questions about it as a board. It was before the Planning Commission and passed unanimously in January, and it was before Natural Resources this past Monday, February 6th. So it will go before County Council. It'll be 3 readings and a public hearing beginning February 28th. And you all asked to consider writing a letter of support for this premise. In the meeting materials, Amanda attached the letter of support the Open Land Trust wrote. So obviously you all are a different body than the Open Land Trust and are entitled to write a support letter any one way or the other. But I wanted y'all to see that as an example. The Open Land Trust as an organization supports this rezoning opportunity, and we think it's really great. It just affords another layer of protection to county-owned properties. And if you all would like to issue a statement of support or not support, I guess you could choose as well, I'd be happy to draft a letter expressing your opinion on the matter and present it to County Council. So this item is on the agenda for you all to give me some direction on what you would like to support or not support.
That's something that we should support, yes.
Great. I think so too, but I don't want to tell you what to do.
So you're gonna put a draft, gonna get a draft letter for us?
Yes, I'm happy to.
Okay. Thank you.
Does Buddy have letterhead?
We don't. I'll make it up.
Yeah, you make something.
Stephanie also asked me if we had a logo, which we don't also have. So that would be another something we could explore if we wanted to have our own rural and critical logo. We've been using Beaufort County, which I think it's fine to do. But if anyone in here is really graphically inclined, yeah. All right, I'll draft a letter on behalf of this board to support the passive park rezoning and share it with you, Mr. Chairman, for your approval and signature.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Any questions? Good job. Thank you, Kate. I'm a little confused. Are we still going to talk about the Beach City project?
Yes, Sean is here.
Okay, all right.
It's on the agenda.
So we need to move to item number 10.
And when I sent out the agenda and all those other attachments, one of them was Sean had, I had given him the ranking sheets, and he had written up this little explanation about the project, and y'all got it in your email, but I printed some out just so you could have them again if you want to look through it, and then ask Sean any questions about the project.
Would you like me to give a summary?
Yeah, that's fine.
Or,
Summary.
okay, as y'all remember from last month, this property is located along Beach City Road with proximity to historic Mitchellville and also the Hilton Head Airport overlay. And it's half an acre. I don't have the PowerPoint memorized. But it's half an acre. The application came from the town of Hilton Head, and we did look at the green, thank you. We did look at the green print maps, last month, but half an acre next to, the St. James Baptist Church.
Right.
Building, which has been relocated for airport expansion, overlay, encroachment situations. And then further down Beach City Road is historic Mitchellville Park. So y'all asked some questions last month that really are best answered by the applicant. And so Sean with the town of Hilton Head, thank you so much for being here and being able to answer the questions and engage with the board.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me. Just point of clarification, the church has not been relocated yet.
Okay.
And this is adjacent to the historic Cherry Hill School property that's just across Dillon Road from the historic church.
Thank you.
So Kate, I missed the January meeting. Can you bring us up to speed? What is the Rural and Critical Lands Committee being asked to do in specifically in this case?
Y'all are being asked to consider due diligence for a property on Hilton Head. And do you have those slides from last month, or do you want me to pull them up?
So we're being asked to invest Rural and Critical Lands Committee for this piece of property.
Correct.
Correct.
And so y'all know you really have your votes of approval or disapproval are two-tiered. First, due diligence and exploration, and secondly, approval or disapproval, ultimately to recommendation to purchase or protect. And so this is still in the first phase, but we wanted to, but obviously your vote on that first phase needs to be based on some sort of information. And so Sean is here to share information from the town of Hilton Head, because there were a lot of questions last month that Amanda and I, couldn't answer. But then also, let's see.
This is a fee simple.
It would be a fee simple acquisition, yes, and it would be.
And a 50-50 partnership.
And a 50-50 partnership with the town.
Okay.
That's correct. Thank you all for remembering from January.
Yeah.
It's a half acre.
So
Yeah, it's a half acre. Here's a map, Max.
Thank you.
And the slides from last month, if we can get them up, we will, but if not, they were just, as y'all have been accustomed to see, the green print maps, so kind of those heat map slides. See that?
Yeah.
But this is a locator map.
But this would basically be used as a parking lot for beach access?
No, it will be used for nothing. We're in the process of buying the Cherry Hill School and the St. James Church that's across the road. That will be reimbursed by the FAA through that relocation project there. This doesn't show it, but this parcel right behind the Cherry Hill School is actually in the flight path of the jets going into the Hilton Head Island Airport. So the property could not be, not much could happen with the property anyway. But the town of Hilton Head and Beaufort County, myself, who has served on the St. James Relocation Committee, thought this would be a good acquisition due to its proximity to Mitchellville. We also own parcels just down the road here along Beach City Road with the town of Hilton Head that's adjacent to the Mitchellville Historic Site. And so what will happen is it will preserve these properties from future development that might be a negative impact on the flight space and the airspace of the Hilton Head Island Airport. There is a possibility, if this property is purchased with Rural and Critical Lands money, that in a few years it could be reimbursed. The program could be reimbursed by the FAA for the purchase of those properties to a land purchase program that they have, grant program. We're not able to qualify for it right now because we've used that program recently to purchase other parcels over near the airport to facilitate the improvement to the terminal.
Eric, what would actually be on the property post-acquisition? Would it just
Nothing.
be a vacant?
It'll remain vacant. We have no plans for it. The city has no plans for it. Cherry Hill School will eventually be relocated and moved off of the site where it is. It's a National Historic Structure. So we will pay to relocate that over to Union Cemetery Road, where the new St. James Church will be built if FAA approves the relocation package for the church and the school.
Yep,
What will come of the land where the school is currently?
Sean, can I ask a couple of questions? Once you move the school, is there a
Yes, sir.
possibility you'll lose the historic designation?
No, sir, there's some considerations given with that relocation about the orientation and others that will be preserved. We're on a separate track looking to designate a cultural district along Beach City Road all the way down to Mitchellville. So this property, along with the location where the St. James and Cherry Hill School are today, we don't have any plans for development there, but it would be certainly a great gateway into the historic community. So no, I don't think there's any jeopardy of the historic designation. And if Eric knows more about that, I ask him to chime in, but I know there's consideration about orientation and the relocation to keep that historic feature preserved.
Now we're dealing with the state historic office and archives office to make sure that we relocate the school and place it on the new site in a manner so that it's able to keep its National Historic Register designation for the school when it's relocated. We will actually have to move that school once approved, once FAA approves the package. We will actually have to move that school down the runway of the airport to get it to the new location in order to avoid the trees that overhang the roadways to get it through. So it'll actually move through the airport down the runway over to the Union Cemetery Road site for the new church.
Yeah, Eric, I have another question. Since this is a airport extension, was there any thought given to using the funds coming down the road from the American Rescue Plan, the infrastructure, instead of RCLP funds?
There were not. We did not have that discussion.
Would it be beneficial to have? Would it be beneficial to have?
I mean, it could be beneficial to do that. It's really not a good purchase for the American Rescue Plan Act money. Most of that money is slated for helping out people that really suffered during the pandemic, financial hardship. So I would have to check to see if such a purchase would even be an allowable expenditure under the ARPA rules. I don't know that land acquisition for this purpose would be available through that program. I'd have to check into that.
Okay, thank you.
Ryan, did I hear that you had a question?
Yes, just a couple. I understand the cultural significance of this property, and I appreciate that. I looked up an old map, and I could see how Mitchellville was all over the area, and this was right in the middle of it. I also enjoy the open space, preserving open space aspect of it, and I could see how it could be used as overflow parking for educational programs. And if this is going to be adjacent to where the school is currently, what's going to be the use of the land of where the school is now once the school is moved?
Nothing.
It'll just be open?
It'll be open. Church will be closed down, and it'll be vacated as well. We're not sure that we're able to tear down the church because the church is National Historic Site eligible. It's not a National Historic Site structure, but since it's eligible to be a National Historic Site, and I don't know why it is a National Historic Site eligible structure because it's fairly new, but the state archives office has designated it as such. So we're limited as to what we can do with that building, but it would not, no people, no congregation of people would be allowed on any of these properties.
And
Okay, so we'll own the land where the school is currently, and if we pursue this one, it'll be adjacent to that, making that land larger.
That's correct.
Okay, but you can't have a congregation of how many people? Like, it couldn't be a public gathering space for.
That's correct.
just, Eric, just to orient me, are we talking about the plat, the Smart 210? Is that the school or is that the church?
210 is the school. The church is right across the other side of Dillon Road. You can see it in the bottom of the picture.
Got it. Got it. Thank you.
Uh-huh.
And one other question, is there precedent for us partnering inside an incorporated part of the county on a purchase?
Yeah, we partnered with the city of Hilton, with the town of Hilton Head Island, just down the road here on Beach City Road, with 5 additional parcels that are about the same size. This one's actually a little bigger than those parcels.
Okay, thank you.
Ford had a question. Okay. Sorry, we're balancing Zoom and in-person. Kenneth, may Ford ask his question and then we'll go to you?
Sure. Current precedent value or number on this? All due respect, it looks like a vacant lot. Well, and help educate me. Why is this something that's so interesting?
John,
Very blunt.
are you able to speak to the what you know about the costs? We obviously haven't done due diligence as a board, so this might be a question.
Yes, we had an appraisal. So our council, when this request came in, our council supported having an appraisal done on the property, and we sent that over to Eric. But the appraisal came back at $154,000. And then when we talked to our council with that appraisal number, our town manager asked that we pursue this with, potentially jointly with the county, and that's when we reached out to Eric and his team and have been working. But 154 was the appraised number on the property.
Okay, and Kenneth?
Yeah, I just had a question. I know Eric mentioned that the FAA would have the ability a number of years down the road to acquire the property. Would they be able to build any structures on it, or would it still be vacant?
No, that would be why it would be grant eligible, because we're purchasing it to protect the approach zone to the Hilton Head Island Airport. If you can imagine, right behind the church, you see the way the church sits there at the school. I mean, at the bottom of the screen. If you imagine just following that line on back to the rear of the property, right on the other side of the rear of the property is the actual runway. So the planes actually fly over that church and the Cherry Hill School, taking off and landing at the Hilton Head Island Airport as they coming in off the water.
Mr. Greenway, my hope that some kind of way when the school is moved, we can put some type of historical kiosk out there or a historical marker. I think that would be significant to for the history of the location.
Yeah, so let me address that a little bit. We have a great working relationship. Stephanie Nadgett is and the county and the town of Hilton Head Island have worked with Mitchellville. All of this property, there's a specific number of there's a specific area that's a part of the Mitchellville plan right now, and it's going to be a part of the Mitchellville Park. We've worked with them on providing some of the joint land that we own down Beach City Road, town of Hilton Head Island, providing that to them for bus parking that's outside of the flight path of the airplanes. But yeah, this will be very much, sorry, my phone's going off here. This will be very much a part of that historic, cultural significant area for Mitchellville and the St. James Church congregation. So there will probably be some historic markers for both Mitchellville and the St. James Church erected in this area once we complete these projects.
And we do currently have, there's historic markers for the church and Cherry Hill School. out on those sites, and so, yeah, they would be maintained. There's one at Fort Hollow just down Beach City Road as well. So I would anticipate more historic significance in this district.
Just one other question. Does the FAA have the ability to block development on this piece of property?
The FAA does not have the ability to block development on the property. The county and the town of Hilton Head Island has the ability to block development on the property. The FAA would basically say if we violated what they think should happen on the property, they would basically say you either got to remove that thing and risk losing future grant money if you don't remove it. And that's what's happening with St. James Church right now is we're in jeopardy if we don't take care of the St. James Church situation. We're in jeopardy at someday losing our ability to get FAA funding for the airport.
So the pressure is on the county and the town to acquire this to satisfy the FAA's flight pattern.
Yeah, we need to purchase it in order to protect the airspace for the airport.
Okay.
I enjoyed reading the letter of support from the town of Hilton Head. And I appreciate the cultural significance of the property. If we were going to pursue this, I would like to see that taken advantage of on the property somehow.
Okay.
Ready for a motion for a move?
Yeah, any other comments, remarks?
One last question. Does our rural and critical lands conditions or objectives of a piece of property to be acquired include economic reasons? Because I would see this as economic, not as protecting art, culturally valuable piece of property.
Can I answer that, or answer it in part? According to the county code, the purpose of critical and rural land preservation program, section 26-27, paragraph 9, says we can provide for the purchase of development rights and fee simple if it involves public safety. And if this particular piece of property is in the flight pattern and it impacts public safety, right now, jets taking off are rattling the windows of that church and the structure of the church that's in danger of falling down eventually. But the county code allows this body to do what they're proposing to do.
Yeah, I've actually been out to St. James Church on a Sunday morning for a church service there to answer questions to them about the relocation. A plane flew over and I could almost read the brand name on the lights underneath the plane as it came over. It's that close to the top of the church. So.
All right. If that's a final comment, I have a motion to vote for approval or disapproval of this project.
For due diligence.
Due diligence, I'm sorry, due diligence.
I move.
I make,
Who is that online?
Chris.
Seconded, John?
John?
I'll second.
Been moved and second to move this project forward for due diligence. All in favor, please show of hands. All who oppose, having none, this project will move to due diligence.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Thanks, Sean. I appreciate it.
Were we supposed to come out of the executive committee? I mean,
Were y'all in executive session?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, good.
No. Read the commandments.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for all your time. I know you wasted a lot of time with us today, but thank you all so much. We're well educated now. We're better educated now.
Waste time. I feel like we had a lot of follow-up items from January. Did we adequately address them all?
And the staff did a wonderful job putting all this together
All
for
right,
us.
I need a
Yeah,
motion and a second to end.
yeah.
Adjourn.
Adjourn.
I'll move for adjournment.
All right, move a second, now we all adjourned. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you all online.
The temperature went back up to 76.
Yeah, thank you so much.
How you doing, Rob?
Yeah, this was a good one.
We missed you on the historic preservation board. Have you had some meetings lately?